was in this really, really dark place, and this was my moment of clarity. This was my prayer. I was cutting my buddy's front yard with this really big lawnmower, and I remember shutting that thing off and just having this moment of honesty with myself. And I looked up at the sky and I said, "You MFer, if this is how you want me to live, just take me, because I'm tired. I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. If this is how I'm supposed to live, just kill me. But if you want me to live another way, let me know. Give me a clear sign." Remember, I wasn't in any pain. I was completely comfortable. I was just shugging and jiving with this guy that was next to me. And it was just at peace. No light. No light. Just eternity. My brother leaned over. I said, "Hey, man, I got to tell you something." I says, "I think I saw God."
All right, I have the honor of speaking with Mr. Ray B., who had an NDE back in 2016. He was born with a congenital heart defect, but I will let him tell you the story. Welcome to the show, Ray. Thank you so much for being on the channel. You're welcome.
Thanks for finally having me.
I'm so glad we finally could connect. That's awesome, man. So, yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours. Let us know how your story goes.
The floor is mine. The story actually begins like I had a surgery. I had died once when I was 3, but I don't remember that. I had to have open heart surgery. I was born with called a bicuspid valve, where there are 3 folds in it, but mine only had 2, so it was. Anyway, I had a murmur and they caught it, but I kind of passed out in my backyard, and my brother went and got my mom and carted me off to the hospital, and I had open heart surgery, and at the age of 3, and but that time all they did was they patched it up. They didn't really fix the problem. So when I was 16, that little patch was failing. I had another surgery. This time they put a pig valve in. No. That was a human valve, a cadaver valve. And that one failed by the time I was 30. So in between 16 and 30, I found a real good, I always liked drinking, but I found a real good taste for drugs to get me out of myself. Just, getting into trouble at school. And I left high school, and a couple other things happened. I met my wife. We had a baby. And I thought that was enough to get me to sober up, but it wasn't. I've been going to meetings, I'll say. We'll just refer to meetings as meetings. Since I was about 13 years old. And might have even been, I don't know. Anyway, I started really struggling when I was in my early 20s. When I was 25, I had my first child. I was just a kid having a kid. Couldn't grow up or anything like that. And I've always had this like spiritual connection. I hesitate to call it God. And I still hesitate with the word God, but there's definitely been something around me my whole life protecting me from real major damage. Growing up, it was very traumatic. On top of being sick all the time, I suffered abuse and, just trouble. And landed myself in the penitentiary for a little while. And I talk about that presence because that presence was with me there every day while I was there. I just refused to recognize it. At the age of 30, I could hear my heart beating. just I had a pillow over my head. I could hear my heartbeat, and I says, that shouldn't be that way, right?
Right.
I go to my doctor, and I tell him. He puts his stethoscope up to my heart. He goes, "Oh my God!" And I said, "I don't think you're supposed to be saying that. And if you are, chances are it's not good." Well, that valve that they gave me failed, and had to have another open heart surgery. This time they gave me a pig valve, and you'd think that would be enough to get me to stop doing what I was doing, but it just, at that time I felt like I was invincible. Nothing could kill me, nothing can beat me. And it is like real like a God complex. Like I was God. There wasn't no God, but it was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting myself out of all of this stuff all of these problems and troubles and whatnot. And that thing lasted for 10 years because in 2016, I had found heroin. I found heroin by accident. Actually, I was smoking crack a lot, and I wanted to stop smoking crack so bad. Anybody that has ever been addicted to that stuff will tell you that you really don't want to smoke crack. You just don't have anything that's stopping you from doing it. It gets in your head, game over. And I was working at this machine shop, heat treat plant, and I hit my right arm, like big, huge pieces of metal. You know, the little windmills?
Yeah.
Inside, there's like this big, huge knuckle where the blades go in. I hit my elbow on one of those. We were heat treating them, and they're pretty heavy. And my arm just fell down. And I go to my doctor, and he gives me Percocet. And I swear on the bottle it said, take one every 4 hours. But in my mind, it said, take 4 every hour and sell half of them to your buddies. I found heroin by accident. One day I was like really, really high, and I was geeking. I worked third shift, and third shift supervisor and me, it was just me and him in the building. And he offered me some heroin to come down off of the crack in exchange for some of my Xanax. And when I didn't start shooting right away, but I started snorting it. But what happened was it made me stop thinking about crack.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, this stuff is awesome. I don't know what was going on in my mind that made me think that was okay. But that's just to show you the desperation that I was in, the dark place that I was in. I turned to heroin to forget about another drug that was controlling my life. Nobody ever told me anything about being sick, and it's a bad way of living. Seriously, it's not there's nothing good about it. So I don't know, like a couple years goes by, and now I'm slamming dope all day, every day. I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm checking myself in and out of, getting myself pink slipped, checking myself in the hospital. I'm trying to get treatment. I'm trying to detox. And I remember it was usually around this time of the year, I start feeling that, because it was springtime that all this happened. It was in June of 2016. My hometown basketball team was in the championship at the time, and I'm a lifelong Cleveland sports fan. I'll get to that in a minute. Here's how that day went. I was in this really, really dark place, and this was my moment of clarity. This was my prayer. Now I'm gonna bleep them out myself, but I looked up at this. I was cutting my buddy's front yard with this really big lawnmower, and I remember shutting that thing off and just having this moment of honesty with myself. And I looked up at the sky and I said, "You MFer, if this is how you want me to live, just take me, because I'm tired. I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. If this is how I'm supposed to live, just kill me." And and then I go, "But if you want me to live another way, let me know. Give me a clear sign, like clear. You know how I am. I need to, for example, you know those unstoppables that you put in your laundry."
Oh yeah.
So this guy told me the other day that you're not supposed to put them in the dryer. You're supposed to put them in the washer. I says, "Isn't that going to screw up the wash?" He goes, "No." And I sat there. He says it'll dissolve in the. He says it'll dissolve in the wash. I didn't believe him. I sat there. It was at the laundromat. I sat there and I watched it to see it dissolve for myself because I needed the proof.
Yeah.
So that's the type of person I am. I need proof. Like, I will not believe it. You tell me that there's a God, there's this, a being, before life, after life, in between life, whatever. I don't believe it unless I see evidence. So I said, clear cut sign. Like, I need to know that this is coming from you and not like some figment of any imagination. It's not somebody saying something to me in passing and I could say, "Oh, well, that's the message I've been looking for." No, I basically need a baseball bat up to the side of the head. Oh, and then I turned on the mower and I just kept going about my business, sick as hell. I go back home. I remember walking into my house. I could barely walk. Like, and I was so sick, and I was just like, "Oh, I feel like I'm gonna die." So I remember waking up that night. I couldn't breathe, and something told me that I needed to go to the hospital. The ambulance came and got me, and I went to the hospital. And I was in the ER, and I had told them I was throwing up and all this other stuff. And well, what they were doing, they were putting a PICC line in my neck. I remember they had this thing over my face, and that this guy that one of the aides, the nurse's aide, I had a friend that worked. He was a nurse that worked at that hospital, and it was his aide. My friend wasn't there, but his aide was, and he knew me because he had to babysit me a couple of times. And I remember holding his hand saying, I don't want to die alone. Please just, he's like, "Oh, you're not going to die." I go, "Yes, I am. I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die." I'm like, this just, it's it. Chalk it up. Tell everybody I gave a good shot. And then I heard bloodstream infection. Now, being a heart patient, I knew what that meant. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm toast. And this was in the ER at a completely different hospital. And then they gave me something, and I could hear my ex's voice from outside the door, but I couldn't see anything. And I could hear her talking. And then I just remember feeling this complete powerlessness. Like, I was falling backwards. And I remember trying to grab on to the bed rail. And I was scared. Like, I'm like, oh my God. This is it. I'm trying to grab onto the bed rail, but I can't even move. Nothing can stop me from this fall. And then I heard this. It was like a metallic noise, like this loud. And then I'm in this line. And I'm in this line. I'm in a really long ass line. And I wasn't me per se. It was not me, but I knew I was me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this line, and it's going all the way to eternity. And I'm a natural just jokester. And I tapped the guy in front of me on the shoulder, and I says, "Well, looks like we're gonna be here for a while." But I remember, and he laughed, but I couldn't see his face. I couldn't see anybody else's faces, and I'll get to that in a second because that's really important. I remember I wasn't in any pain. I was completely comfortable. I was just shugging and jiving with this guy that was next to me. And it was just at peace. No light, just eternity, except this one person, not too far ahead of me. Young black girl. She had pigtails. For some odd reason, she poked her head out the line. She looked at me and she smiled and went like that. And I'm like, oh, look at that. You know, such a beautiful little girl. You know, look at that smile. And it warmed my heart.
Yeah.
And she went like that. And it was just weird. Like, out of all that, it's the only person's face I saw. So next thing you know, I'm looking around and I look to my left and look to my right and I go, what's this to my left? There's this bright light. Now, this light came over me and it was warm. It was like happiness. Like I cannot explain. I can't duplicate the light either.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unearthly light. So bright, so warm, almost like you want to be there. And this really good feeling came over me. And I felt a shove on my chest. And then I woke up and this guy's walking in the room and he goes, "Ray." And I go, "Huh?" He says, "You know who I am?" And I go, "A doctor?" He said, "No, Ray, listen to the sound of my voice." It was my brother. You know, he was praying for me. He had like, I don't know how many people on he played this game and they had like this chat room and tons of people were praying and and I wake up and I just remember him asking me if I was done. There were several things that he asked me if I was done with. And I said, yeah, I'm done. I didn't get any information because literally 2 seconds ago, I was talking to a living human being saying I was going to die. And here I am. Basically he was waking me up because I was going to be gone. That's what the doctor was doing. 3 weeks went by. I was in a coma all that time. I had a clot formed in my right arm and it traveled up through my main arteries, ricocheted off of my heart, and then went down to my left groin, lodged itself in there. So I went from being in total pain to at peace, with somebody waving at me and a funny guy laughing at my jokes, and back into excruciating pain. And but I remember I was okay with that. And my brother leaned over and I says, "Hey man, I gotta tell you something." I says, "I think I saw God." He goes, "What?" And I explained to him what I saw. And he's like, "Wow, man." He said, "They talk about that in the Bible." And I says, I ain't trying to hear all that. However, I saw God. He goes, "Yeah, that's the verse that's in the Bible, the same thing you said." And I go, "Okay, that's what I saw. I saw a Bible verse or a Bible verse." And you know, I haven't picked up drugs and I haven't drank or anything since that day that I cussed the being out. For the sake of argument, we'll call this being God for now. Because still at this point, I'm still a non-believer. Like, I don't believe in any. I'm like, they must have been giving me some really good stuff. I had all sorts of vivid dreams that I thought were real. I had conversations with people that I could swear to God it's between how me and you are talking right now. As real as that. Then, I spent another, I don't know how long it was. It was a while. It was a good while. In the ICU. I had more surgeries. I had everything in the world hooked up to me. Then they brought me into a regular room. A lot of time had passed. While I was in a coma, this lifelong Cleveland fan missed out. Cavs won the world championship. Yeah. So back to that little girl. Laying in the bed, and it took a while. I didn't want to see any news about any championship. I was so salty that I missed it. So I was still living in self-pity at that time about this whole thing. Oh, go figure. It's like they win and I'm like dead. And so a while went by before, I have to say, not once was I around a TV at all. No newscasts, very little interaction with anybody that wasn't family. No social media, no phone calls, no nothing. They had me literally on lockdown. Then I decided to turn the TV on. I don't know why, but I decided to turn the TV on, and there it is. It's the news. Body of a young girl found. And it was her. And I went, what? I go, that's her. And that's when I realized, like, wow, that was real. And
now you're a believer, or you're still a non-believer?
I'm spiritual, because I said this to somebody the other day, and I don't think he really got what I was saying. I told him that I'm doing God's work differently than you do it. And by doing that is I talk to people about their struggles, what they're going through, without a pat on the back. I don't want that. That's how I do God's work, by talking to you, sharing this story, and just the hopes that one person hears it, and it touches their lives, and it helps that person, not makes them, but helps them get to the other side of what demons or problems this person is dealing with. Then it makes it all worthwhile. So,
and what do you want them to hear?
That an addict and any addict can get clean, lose his desire to use, and find a new way of life. Simple as that. Because even after that, after I got out of the hospital, I was hitting meetings hard. And I remember my daughter didn't want to come to see me in the hospital. And I was upset about that. I remember yelling at her, don't you want to see your dad? Don't you want to see your dad? Come and see. And I'm crying on the phone. Come see me. I miss you. And blah, blah, blah. And she decided to come one day. And I said, thank you so much for coming. And she's like, I don't even want to talk to you. I said, well, give me one more chance. And she says, if you fuck up one more time, that's it. Word for word. 16 years old, she said this to me. If you fuck up one more time, consider me dead. I had nothing to say. That's like one of the only people in the world that can shut me up. So for the longest time, I was going and staying clean and working a program because I didn't want her to turn her back on me. I wanted my daughter. I didn't want to lose my daughter or my son. I didn't want them to hate me. I loved them, but I was battling things that I had no defense against. This big, bad, tough guy doesn't have any defense against this stuff. And a lot of work went into it. And then I just started going for myself. But a lot of work goes into it on a daily basis. There's other things that I deal with. I deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, for just all sorts of different vehicles of that. I don't struggle with faith because that same being that shoved me back in and said, "Okay, buddy, here's your proof. I'm gonna give you your life back, but you're gonna miss the championship." Oh. Anyway, so I'm gonna give you your life back, and I'm gonna give you the proof that you need, and you're gonna have to do my work for the rest of your life. And I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. But there's a lot that goes in with living my life. I have these memories that start coming up now. For the past 5 years, we're going on 6 now. Every time around this time, I would get the smells of spring, fresh cut grass, a cool breeze, and it's like, and I'm driving around in the ghetto, and I don't want to use, and I don't think about using, but it brings back these memories, and I get frustrated, like I remember feeling that way, and it hurts. But I think that's part of the deal that was set forth for me.
It's still a struggle, no matter how you look at it.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle up here, not here.
Well, yeah,
But up here is connected to everything else, right? So it's,
you know.
So everybody says. I think that the heart has a lot to do with that too, because the heart can drive you to your emotions can drive a lot. But then again, yeah.
Do you think that the presence that you've
experienced pretty much your whole life and quite intimately during your near-death experience is like a spirit guide or maybe a guardian angel or something?
I think now here's where I'm going to lose a lot of the religious people.
I'm not talking about religion at all, right? I'm just talking about spirit guides are not religious. It's just a spiritual thing.
Spiritually, I believe we all have a job to do. And a lot of us don't have a chance to do that job because we're occupied with other things that are occupying our emotions, our time, our spirit. Our spirit have assignments. We were specifically put here to do something. The only way to know that you're doing is that if it really makes you happy. Yeah, even the bad days, you're still happy doing it. And I think that I was given that knowledge that I didn't want to accept. That's what it's for. That's who that was. Whether it be God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever, an alien, whatever. That was always with me, trying to guide me. As I look back in my life, there's been a lot of situations where, I heard, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Shut up. I'm gonna do it anyway. um, yeah, I believe that it gave me enough proof that I needed to catapult to the next phase of my life, the new chapter that I'm living in.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been this happy consistently.
Good.
To tell me that I'll never drink again or never, I used to get high with this guy. We were the same height, but he was a lot older than me. He had blue eyes too. And if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say your name, I promise. He would take a hit, and I would spend days at this guy's house, and he would start shaking. He'd be like, and I was like, God, man, you look like you're dead already. And I just remember saying, man, that's me. That's going to be me. That's my future right there. And I always thought that my punishment wasn't going to be to die. It would be to live. That was my punishment. There was other people die. They overdose or and they're gone. I was doomed to live that lifestyle. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that anymore. And today I don't live that lifestyle. And I feel blessed every day. I mean, I wake up and I got, I'm missing a leg. So life is very challenging.
You got your kids. How's your relationship now with them?
Good. As a matter of fact, my son was over here today. He didn't answer the phone this morning when I called him. So I kind of razzed him about that for a little while. He's 21. And
you know, even without the problems we've been discussing this past hour or so, they're still very, very difficult. These kids.
Yes.
So I can't even imagine like what you had to go through, like on top of just the regular stuff. Holy crap, man.
I lucked out though. They had where I lacked, their mother picked up. She's a good woman. Still is. She's not wrong. She's still a good woman. And she deserves kids that she has. And I just know I lucked out because if I had any kids with anybody else, my kids would have been FUK'd all the way because I couldn't take care of them.
You were saying at one point you said something about being at a completely different hospital, and I was confused. I don't want to interrupt you.
So when I was at the one hospital, apparently I went on a helicopter ride because I was that bad. And that buddy that I told you about, he was walking in while they were rolling me out because right after they did that, they had to intubate me because I needed more emergency than they were able to handle at that emergency room. So I knew I was in trouble because they put me in that room with the big light. That big, huge, round light.
Yeah.
When I call it the "you're gonna die" room. So
that's kind of scary.
It's just it is what it is.
So you weren't with anybody, right? You just had that.
The nurse's aide.
The aide, that's right. Yeah.
The orderly.
But aside from him, you were alone at this point. Where was everyone else?
At the beginning, yes.
Okay.
My family, my brother, everybody showed up. I don't know when they showed up because that's all I remember from that point. But when I did wake up, they were there.
Yeah.
All of them. I had a lot of support. I had a lot of good people backing me. I had a lot of good people pushing me, and it's been a long road, man.
Yeah.
But it's well worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
About coming back into your body, so you're basically out somewhere in a long lineup of Sounds like a hellish lineup, but it obviously wasn't hellish because you felt fine and you seemed to be quite happy and surrounded by love. So, not a hellish experience by any means. But how did you get back into your body? Do you remember?
I believe I was pushed back. So inadvertently, I believe that I wasn't supposed to be in that line at all. That wasn't my time. Else I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
And the powers that be decided, well, let them stand in line for a minute and realize, give them a little bit of a nudge. But it was a real push
Mm-hmm.
on my chest, like, and then there I am.
Wow.
And I didn't see anybody that I knew, no family members. Nothing outstanding really happened other than waking up knowing that it was real and not a figment of my imagination.
Yeah, once you were validated with that news, it's pretty crazy, yeah.
I mean, even after that, I thought for a while that something, that must have been one of them vivid dreams that I had. I had one dream. This is actually a really funny story. I had one vivid dream, and it seemed like it was real. 2 nurses came and got me, put me on a bed, rolled me into an ambulance, and brought me to a crack house. Left me in the ambulance while they were smoking crack. Came back, brought me back to the hospital. Boy, I was mad. When the doctor came in, I says, come here. I says, I'm going to tell you something. And if you go around talking about it, me and you are done. I'll never tell you another thing ever again. He goes, what is it? And I says, those 2 nurses over there, they brought me to a crack house about an hour ago and they were smoking crack. He's like, I was like, what are you intending on doing about this? He goes, I'll look into it. I'll take care of it. I go, okay. so that, yeah.
But when you were,
I kind of thought that was one of them. But when I saw that girl, I knew that particular experience was definitely real.
Yeah, it doesn't get much realer than that.
No,
That's
it
for
doesn't.
sure.
And it was as real as we're talking right now. It was reality to me.
yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't me though. I didn't have a name.
I want to ask you about that reality actually, because you know how you'll often hear near-death experiencers talking about how the reality they experienced during their NDE was far more real than this. Did you have any sort of feeling like that while you were there?
It was real. I was cognizant. I knew what was going on. I knew I wasn't in pain. I had a personality. I wasn't angry. I was at peace. And I know I was real because I was joking around. I mean, that's it. That inside, behind your mind's eye, that's what I was. I wasn't, the person that you hear talking to you while you're driving on the street, like, it's son of a, or what a beautiful day out.
Yeah.
That voice that you hear in your head when you talk, that's who I was.
Yeah.
Not this guy.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting way of describing it. I've never heard anyone describe it that way. It's pretty cool.
That's the best recollection that I can come up with to make it make sense to me. Because
cool.
and I tell people about this experience and I say, I don't think you're ready to hear it, because not everybody's gonna right away. Everybody wants to, like, oh, well, the drugs make it. I've been doing drugs my whole life and none of them made me see a line that long.
Where did you think you actually were? Like, even now in retrospect, where do you think you were? Some sort of...
If I had to guess, I would have to guess that I have 2 possibilities. One possibility was waiting to be born again to live my life over. because I still am holding on to that. This is not it. This is not the end of us. Like when we die, we don't just cease to exist.
No, we don't.
This form of us does, but I honestly believe that we've been living the same cycle over and over. It's the only explanation. What about deja vu?
I think deja vu represents space and time of a past life.
That we sort of somehow entered into the frequency to recognize it.
But maybe not know what it is, but recognize it.
You know?
Right. And it seems so real. Like, damn, I remember.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, but not only like, oh, possibly in another life, this is what it. No, I remember doing this
In this life. I know what you mean.
Right here,
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that we hit the reset button, and that.
Or what about parallel universes? Maybe it's something that you did do in not this life necessarily, but simultaneously on a very similar planet.
Yeah, and maybe the other version of me actually died
Maybe.
on that table, and I got catapulted into this reality. Who knows?
Who knows?
I have a lot of theories that behind that, but the one that I'd like to stick with is I was waiting for the next thing.
Yeah.
Wherever we go, I was waiting for that.
Right.
Is the only way to explain that a little girl, and it, like what could she possibly have done where they weren't sure if she was supposed to be there or not, or able to cross over to the next realm, or go to heaven, or go to hell, or whatever. Yeah, little kids, they don't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
We do. And yeah, I like to believe that she's either I have all sorts of theories about her too that make it make sense, because I don't understand why her destiny for all of eternity is to live to the age of 9.
Do you think that maybe because you asked for it, right? You said, give it to me now, make it really obvious, make it so like in my face, you know how I need it. And then you're presented with this girl who is just days later when you're waking up out of a coma after you just died and waited in some heavenly line. Months.
Yeah.
But the fact is, here you are, and now, and months later, you see this same. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
That is pure validation. Pure validation. You don't think that's the proof that you were asking for, and they said, "Here you go. Let's make him turn on the TV now and see his reaction."
Turn on TV, man.
But you know what I mean? Could that be it?
It could be, and ultimately, we're never gonna know until we have this. We all owe a death. It's part of the deal of life, and the one thing that it's given me more of a vehicle of appreciation of life and the ability to live it day by day. I was going too fast, too quick, too fast for too long. But yeah, I think that she represented that. It makes sense.
Maybe.
But I still can't tie that whole thing into like, what's her story? Like,
I wonder if you could find out, or I guess not. I mean,
I've done research, and it's always come up inconclusive. They just don't, especially where she was found. They really don't care too much about that.
And Ray, did anything else change after your experience? Like, did you notice if you, I don't know, were more connected, or, some people have new abilities that come up when they have this kind of experience? Did you have anything like that yet?
More like a definite appreciation. Where I didn't appreciate anything.
Well, that's a gift right there.
No new abilities. I can't perform brain surgery. I don't.
So some people become like clairvoyant or psychic. I don't know. There's a lot of different things.
Nothing like that. And so, just as your story is nothing like my story. Everybody's death is not going to be the same.
True. Yeah.
Everybody's path in life is not going to be the same.
To be honest, there's such a select few that I've seen and interviewed myself. There's still very few people that actually have those experiences. But I just thought I'd ask because you never know.
I've heard of it, but no, nothing like that for me. I think mine was a jolt into, look, man, you're supposed to be doing something, and they know what's in here in my heart. I really do care. Someone once told me anger is just sadness with no proper place to go. And that's so true. I think that's another thing. I've become very sensitive to that, the way we treat each other. It sickens me. It's so sad because it's so easy. It's so easy but we complicate it. Our species complicates it.
Ego.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
And I get caught up in it. I'm not perfect. I get caught up in it.
No, we all do.
Yeah, it's just a natural thing, but I just don't like staying in it.
What's important is your intention and, just staying in the moment. I really appreciate that you shared your story with us, Ray. And,
you mentioned earlier how you just want to help at least one person. And I can almost guarantee you that you're going to help a lot more than one person. And they're going to be very grateful to you as well. And you don't want to take credit for it, but the fact is, it's not easy to come on a show just talking openly with a bunch of people is a really tough thing to do. And I think that, I just wanted to thank you.
Well,
appreciate it.
You made it really easy. Like it was, like you said, it was chill. I think if we had more conversations like this, that we'd be in a much better place.
I agree.
Not everybody is fortunate enough to see it. I don't know. But that's my life's goal, is to try and tell as many people as I can that I love them.
Well, you just did it, brother. You just did it. Hopefully we'll have lots of people watching this, and we just keep spreading love. That's what we got to do.
And if not, I made a good friend.
Yeah, indeed.
I had a good conversation.
Indeed, same here, brother. I really did. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and
me too.
It's been amazing.
Stay cool, man.
You too, man. God bless.
All right.
Later.